Well, today is the 1st of November, and where we live, winter's coming. And so I've got to do something because I want to try to run this greenhouse and the other ones I have all through the winter, which is going to be a little challenging because it does get cold here. It's not uncommon that in January to see several days it's below zero. That's Fahrenheit. So that, you can see that plants just aren't going to grow in that. Now, the challenge that you have is, can you insulate your greenhouse well enough that if it's zero outside, it's at least 32 degrees inside. Hopefully a little more than that. Now, this greenhouse, which is a small one, I think I can do that. And I'll show you why. Years ago, I was on a kick, and I double insulated this. What I've got is, you've got some, this polycarbonate plastic on the outside, and I have some polycarbonate plastic on the inside. So this has got quite a good insulation value for the glass. And the other side here is a brick wall, so that gets some heat. And the other factor here is this faces south. So it gets sunshine all day when the sun is shining. So this does pretty well. So I'm going to try to get this to last through the winter. Now it got 32 degrees last night outside, but if you can see this says the low was 45. So in here it didn't get any colder than 45 degrees. Now that's only a difference of 13 degrees inside and outside, and that's enough for a while, but it's not enough for the whole winter, because I've got to do better than that. So I'm going to use space here and try to just put some more heat in this, because I think this is insulated about as well as you can do. Now there's one other thing I have done. You see, I have a little door that I installed in front of my swamp cooler, which is still necessary right now. But anyway, what the door is for is to seal that off, of course. And that way you don't have any air leaks there. So that helps. And let's see how long we can keep this thing going. Now let me show you the other greenhouses. Okay, now this is what we call our sun deck. And you can see I've got some things growing in here. And this is a brick wall, and this faces south. And I've got to clean some of this up. But I want to try to get this to be usable this winter too. Now this one doesn't have a double insulated ceiling, and it has single insulated glass, but the bottom part below the windows is well insulated. Let me show you a little bit of that. You see, after I got this built, I put some insulation here, and then we put this facade over it, so that below the windows it's insulated really quite well. And the windows themselves is where all of the heat gets lost. Plus, that's a single layer plywood still, with some pieces of carpet here and there that I've thrown in, and I'm going to clean this mess up. But if I put more carpeting down, that should probably help the ceiling. And this, I think, is doing about all I can do, unless I actually put another layer of plastic across the top. So, I don't think I'll do that right now. But now looking at this thermometer, let's try to look at this. See, again, it got 32 degrees last night. And you can see here, this got down to 39 degrees. Now, that's without any assistance, no space heater, anything. So, this space does need help if it's going to stay above freezing. So, I'll have to do something here. But it might not take too much. And this is what I call the main greenhouse. This is the one I built, got it finished up earlier part of this year. Now this is the one I really want to keep above freezing. And what I've got to do with this one is a kind of an extensive thing. Let me show you. First of all, I need to insulate it better. And let me show you what I mean. Now, if you turn around the north wall here is got a metal covering on it. Now that's very bad insulation wise, so I'm going to put some insulation in there and cover it with black plastic to get some insulation there. Now that you can see the bottom up to the window. The bottom is also built out of metal, and I've got to cover that up too. Now let me go over here, and you can see it much more clearly. Over by the fish pond, you can see all that metal. That's got to be covered, and hopefully that'll help insulate it a lot. Now, if I were to put a double layer of plastic here, that might help in here too, but that's a lot of work. The other thing I've already done is I have put a door on the cooler so that at night I can close it. Because even though it is November now, during the daytime it still gets hot enough in here that it does need to be cooled. I have things growing in here that I want to save. That's Swiss chard. Of course, that can stand to be cooled down. Those are strawberries, and that's radishes. I've got beets on the other side that I want to save, and some more strawberries. And I do want to save these tomatoes. Now, these tomatoes can't stand any kind of cold at all. The first little bit of frost in here, and these are gone. But there's so many left. If you can look around, you can see there's a lot of tomatoes here. And I want to save these. I want to see how long I can keep them growing. And that's dependent on how I can get this thing heated. Now, let me look up here and show you. Last night in here, as you can see, it got down to 32 last night again outside, but it got down to 43 degrees in here. Now that's not too bad. And what I've done is I have a hot water system that's meant for the house for the radiant heating, and I pumped that out here into this heat exchanger that I made. Now this is just done quick and dirty, but it's just to see if it'll work. So what I've got here is an automobile radiator and a little box fan. That's about 20 bucks you can buy, and basically put it on a box and run the hot water in up here. You can see there's the water lines, and see how that works. And that is making a difference. It really does. But that's not enough. I've got to do more, so I've got to insulate the walls, and I've got to maybe put another heater in here of some kind. But anyway, stay with me here, and we'll try to insulate this and see what I can do to make this a year-round greenhouse without breaking the bank as far as the heating costs. Because, propane and those kinds of things, to heat the hot water, those things are not cheap. So, stay with me now and we'll see what we can do and see how successful it is. Just thought I'd come in here for a moment and show you where the water comes from. These are two 500-gallon water tanks. There's one there, and there's another one right there. 500-gallon water tanks. And what I have is, I have a propane water heater here that the water is being pumped through. And I also have an electric water heater over here that's pumped through. Now, originally what these were for is supplying the radiant heat. You can see the cement wall. That's the foundation of the home. And what they were for was to supply radiant heat through that little hole there to the system in the house. And it's still used for that. And it still works pretty good. But what I did a couple of years ago was I thought, well, there's 1,000 gallons here. Why don't we just use this tank, use these tanks as the water source for my greenhouses for makeup water. And, when I need water, we use that. So it works fine. Usually during the summer, the heat's turned off. Now, right now, I've turned the heat back on. And if you can read this, let's see, it's 109 degrees. I don't know if you can read that. That's Fahrenheit. So the water's quite warm. And we keep it warm again with the water heaters and so forth. Now, this water is what runs that radiator that you saw out in the big greenhouse. And maybe I'll have to crank up the heat a little bit more, or maybe I'll have to put another heater out there and insulate it, but we'll see. But anyway, this is where the water comes from. And Let's see what we can do this winter. By the way, if you're curious, that electric water heater, I know a lot of you would look at electric water heaters and go, holy smokes, that's going to cost you a fortune with a power bill. This is solar. I have a system in the house where if I have excess solar power, it dumps it in here instead of net metering going back on the line. So this helps. But anyway, we'll have to see how it works.